migrants and refugees in general and asylum seekers in general to be dirty, and has done propaganda around that like regularly. But
stood by to see mediocre, mealy-mouthed, snowflake white men who are incapable of taking critique, who are willing to dole out infamous repudiations of the humanity of the other, and yet they call us snowflakes, and they are the biggest flakes of snow to hit the earth. They are incapable of criticism. They are incapable of tolerating difference. They're scared of, oh my God, critical race theory is going to kill your mother. And they don't even know. They're not critical. They have no race, and they don't understand theory.
White men, they're the problem. You hear that so often.
I mean, he's actually saying that conservative men across the board are fragile as fuck. And there is truth to that, considering you're behaving that way right now. I mean, it's hard not to get called out like this and then, behave. It's hard to get called out like this and then behave in a reasonable manner. Like, he just fucking nailed Tucker Carlson so hard that, of course, like, he is going to then further prove Eric Dyson's point here. So let's continue.
That you don't pause to consider what a change this is. It used to be only a few years ago that the one thing you couldn't do in America was attack people in public on the basis of their race. I don't like that group because of their skin color. Let's hurt them. You couldn't say that. It was the one unacceptable thing, and for very good reason. You cannot maintain a multiracial democracy unless people of every color have exactly the same.
But he didn't even say, like, white people. He said MAGA people, like conservative people. So he's talking about he's talking about like whiteness as a white fragility, but he literally started off with like MAGA people. Unless you jump the gun and go, when you mean MAGA people, you mean all white people, then, that's a bit of a self-report, I guess. But I don't think the Trump supporters represent, every white person. It's kind of stupid.
Same rights and responsibilities.
If we could define what CRT is, that'd help a lot with the problem. Okay, but that's the reason why it is undefinable is also because it's purposely undefinable, as the guy who, like, is the main reason why we talk about CRT all the fucking time from the Manhattan Institute openly admitted, which is like everything and anything is CRT. That's the point. That's the issue. It's not like the actual legal analysis from a racial framework in our in our criminal justice system. It's just that it's just any time like systemic racism is mentioned, then it's CRT. That's the whole point. It's just something to be something to just like use as a catch-all term.
Under the law and are considered of precisely.
He was talking about white guy. Okay, here, let's run this again. I gotta go pee, but
the maggots.
People are getting upset, but like he's starting it off by talking about the white fragility of MAGA people.
I'm sorry, the MAGA in this political moment, and we have stood by to see mediocre, mealy-mouthed, snowflake white men who are incapable of taking critique.
Like, he's literally talking about MAGA people and their white fragility. Do you not understand that? He's not saying all white people are this way. I mean, there's white people on the fucking thing that he's talking to, on the panel that he's talking to,
who are willing to dole out infamous repudiations of the humanity of the other, and yet
he's just talking about Tucker Carlson. I say this all the time, by the way. When people are criticizing white fragility, there is no reason to take ownership of that. If it does not pertain to you, just like I, as a white passing or white person, never feel as though like white fragility criticisms extend to someone like myself because I don't feel it. Like, so you are taking on that criticism on your own and saying, oh no, actually he's talking about me. And then unironically, feeding into the meme of white fragility by being overly fragile about something that is not even about you. Okay?
Call us snowflakes, and they are the biggest flakes of snow to hit the earth. They are incapable of criticism. They are incapable of tolerating difference. They're scared of, oh my God, critical race theory is going to kill your mother. And they don't even know. They're not critical. They have no race, and they don't understand theory.
That's it. Like, you're engaging in a self-report when you're like, oh, he's talking about me and now I'm upset. Okay? He's not talking about you, dude. And by the way, people do that sometimes and I get fucking mad. When people are like, no, actually, as a white person, like as a white, you are also a part of this. And you as a white have no say in this circumstance. Like in this conversation, like see yourself out of it. Then it's like, no, I will not see myself out of it. Ridiculous. How many times have I fucking criticized this shit?
White men, they're the problem. You hear that so often that you don't pause to consider what a change this is. It used to be only a few years ago that the one thing you couldn't do in America was attack people in public on the basis of their race. I don't like that group because of their skin color. Let's hurt them. You couldn't say that. It was the one unacceptable
Well, that's interesting because he didn't say that, but
thing,
okay.
and for very good reason.
But of course, to someone with privilege, equality feels like oppression, right? Famous critical race theorist MLK said that. But he's of course good, but because he said he has a dream that white people and black people should not be judged by the color of their skin, but the content of their character. So he said that. So let's avoid everything else that he said. We literally did that after 9/11. What? Okay. So famously assassinated by the FBI, CRT. What I find to be rather strange about this this argument itself is actually fuck it. I just gotta go pee. I can't hold it in anymore. I'll be back in a second.
You cannot maintain a multiracial democracy unless people of every color have exactly the same rights and responsibilities under the law and are considered of precisely the same moral value under God. You have to have that. That's the most basic prerequisite for a multiracial democracy. All lives have to matter, or it cannot work. It's pretty clear that our leadership class, for whatever reason, doesn't want it to work. Obviously, they don't. Look at what they're doing. When you hear people ascribe blood guilt to a specific racial group, when you hear them talk about the sin of whiteness, what you're watching is the death of our future as a country. We can't live in a nation of warring tribes. We know very well what that looks like because it's the history of the world. It's miserable and vicious and bloody. We can't allow that. Most Americans of all colors on some level understand this. They don't always have the words to articulate it, but they know it. When their kids come home from school with assignments that suggest that all races are not in fact equal, that some races are guilty and some are innocent, that some groups are oppressors inherently and others are inherently oppressed. In the universities, this is called critical race theory, so that's the term that most people go with. Critical race theory. That's what we so often debate on television. That's the clip we just showed you. But critical race theory is an inaccurate way to describe what's happening. Like so much academic jargon, the phrase critical race theory doesn't mean anything.
Okay, what I was going to say before I went to pee was the irony is what Tucker Carlson is doing here when he bastardizes what like Michael Eric Dyson is saying is exactly at the heart of the when you have privilege, equality feels like oppression. Because if he turned around and said like you could never separate people on the virtue of race, and then actually like directly analogized what Michael Eric Dyson was saying, he had to turn around and be like, what Michael Eric Dyson is saying is just like saying you should kill all black people. That's not what he said. So if you consider the mere mention of white fragility to be akin to saying kill all black people, then you're literally proving his fucking point about white fragility. That was what I was going to say. Sorry. Okay? That's it. That's the fucking irony there.
Thing, and for very good reason. You cannot maintain a multiracial democracy unless people of every color have exactly the same rights and responsibilities under the law and are considered of precisely the same moral value under God. You have to have that. That's the most basic prerequisite for a multiracial democracy. All lives have to matter, or it cannot work. It's pretty clear that our leadership class, for whatever reason, doesn't want it to work. Obviously, they don't. Look at what they're doing. When you hear people ascribe blood guilt to a specific racial group, when you hear them talk about the sin of whiteness, what you're watching is the death of our future as a country. We can't live in a nation of warring tribes. We know very well what that looks like because it's the history of the world. It's miserable and vicious and bloody. We can't allow that. Most Americans of all colors on some level understand this. They don't always have the words to articulate it, but they know it. When their kids come home from school with assignments that suggest that all races are not, in fact, equal, that some races are guilty and some are innocent, that some groups are oppressors inherently and others are inherently oppressed. In the universities, this is called critical race theory. So that's the term that...
Okay, I get so upset about this, like, this rhetoric. Are there people who fucking unironically believe that? Sure, there are. But it's not the fucking dominant position, okay? And it's certainly not what people are fucking teaching, and it's not even what critical race theory is supposed to be. He's 100% correct, and chat doesn't like hearing truths get rolled. What? What are the truths? That white people are inherently oppressive? Is that what you're saying? Dumbass.
That most people go with. Critical race theory. That's what we so often debate on television. That's the clip we just showed you.
The problem is, Tucker plays fast and loose with historically and inherently, as the chatter also pointed out. No one is saying white people are genetically dominant or inherently dominant and have to be dominant. And that's why they're doing racist things. Okay? You're saying historically white people have dominated. And the impact of that, which, by the way, everyone will agree to that throughout history. Only select few, like Tucker Carlson, will turn around and act like that's not fucking true. Okay? There's nothing inherent about it. There's nothing genetic about that. And it can change. And the first step towards changing that, especially because that system of domination is so pervasive that it still has a lasting impact on contemporary existence. But changing that system comes from learning about the history so that everyone can at least recognize it. Okay?
But critical race theory is an inaccurate way to describe what's happening. Like so much academic jargon, the phrase critical race theory doesn't mean anything. It obscures rather than illuminates. It is designed that way. It is designed to confuse you. What's happening in our schools and our military and our government is both simpler and easier to recognize than that. It's not critical race theory. It's racism. Not neo-racism or reverse racism. Those are meaningless terms. It is race hate. It is peddled by the people in charge in the hope that it will make them more.
Bro, this is so fucking stupid. Like, an analysis of a critical analysis from a racial point of view, and racial oppression throughout history is not creating racism. It is literally to stop more racist fucking people from existing. Okay? Like, if adequately representing history makes you feel like is gonna breed more fucking resentment towards white people, then now I understand why you don't want people to adequately understand history. Because you don't want people to recognize what white people have done. But the reality is, like, it's not supposed to create resentment. What it's supposed to do is create less resentment from white people towards black people, so that we can understand our shared history and conflict and struggle throughout time, so that we can make the future better. But of course, the reason why Tucker Carlson does not want people to be informed about America's racist history or the world's racist history is because he wants to act like it no longer is important, that was in the past, and don't learn too much about it lest you start feeling differently about the reason why black people are still subjected to the conditions that they're subjected to. Because it would shatter the worldview of so many people.
More powerful. That's all it is. We haven't said that often enough or clearly enough. And because we haven't, because we've been tied up in some pointless debate about a concept that nobody can actually define, the race hate, and that's what it is, has oozed from the universities, and it has infected the entire country, including at the very highest levels. Mark Milley is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He didn't get that job because he's brilliant or because he's brave or because the people who know him respect him. He is not, and they definitely don't. Milley got the job because he is obsequious. He knows who to suck up to, and he's more than happy to do it. Feed him a script, and he will read it. Here's Milley yesterday, the man in charge of this nation's weapons, explaining that he's working to understand a concept called white rage.
I do think it's important, actually, for those of us in uniform to be open-minded and be widely read. And the United States Military Academy is a university. And it is important that we train and we understand. And I want to understand white rage, and I'm white, and I want to understand it. So what is it that caused thousands of people to assault this building and try to overturn the Constitution of the United States of America? What caused that? I want to find that out. I want to maintain an open mind here, and I do want to analyze it. It's important that we understand.
Kind of funny, like, how quickly Tucker shits on veterans and the military. Like, remember, Tammy Duckworth, like, got absolutely, like, Tucker Carlson literally straight up said, like, her disability was faked, pretty much, or, like, that she was incapable. He does this shit all the time. He's able to do that. He's able to do that because he's a conservative. Conservatives love the military, you know?
Understand that because our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians, they come from the American people. So it is important that the leaders now and in the future do understand it.
Hard to believe that man wears a uniform. He's that unimpressive. Notice he never defined white rage, and we should know what it is. What is white rage? Well, like drapetomania, it's one of those diseases that only affect people with certain melanin levels. It's a race-specific.
It's literally not, dude. It's not a fucking race realist medical condition. Why the fuck is Tucker Carlson making it seem like people are treating white rage as though it's like anything beyond a social term created by those who like are studying social sciences? Oh my fucking God. Unironically, Tucker needs some critical race theory, I guess, to understand. If I, a brown lefty Muslim immigrant, had opened my MSNBC show last Sunday by calling America's top general a pig and stupid, saying he wasn't fit to wear the uniform, comparing America to Rwanda, the right would be demanding I be fired and calling me a traitor. But Tucker, yeah, that's true. I mean, it's 100% true.
Specific illness. That's what Mark Milley has learned from reading about it. That's why he's making his soldiers read about it too. They need to know. Watch.
I've read Mao Zedong. I've read Karl Marx. I've read Lenin. That doesn't make me a communist. So what is wrong with understanding, having some situational understanding about the country for which we are here to defend? And I personally find it offensive that we are accusing the United States military, our general officers, our commissioned, non-commissioned officers, of being, quote, woke.
He's not just a pig, he's stupid. So Mark Milley reads Mao to understand Maoism. He reads communist to understand communism. But it's interesting that he doesn't read white supremacists to understand white supremacy. Why not go to the source? Well, because Mark Milley would be fired instantly if he read those books. And getting fired is the one thing he doesn't want.
Yo. For the record, this is why I think it's so fucking stupid whenever centrists and neoliberals liken communism as an economic organization or Marxism as an economic theory to Nazism and fascism, which is built upon racial boundaries, racial resentment. And there is a completely separate designation for it, considering that it's not grounded within dialectical materialism at all. This is why Tucker Carlson can get away with saying such fucking laughable and idiotic things. Tucker Carlson hilariously is saying, like, you know, you'd get fired if you read Mein Kampf. You know, maybe you should read Mein Kampf. Cool, okay.
So he reads about white rage as if it's totally real. It's a medical condition. And by the way, since it's a medical condition, at what age can you catch white rage, by the way? Most of us assume
it's not. No one has said that white rage is a medical condition. Absolutely zero people are saying that white rage is a medical condition except for Tucker Carlson. And now the fucking morons that listen to Tucker Carlson. White rage is not a medical condition. No one has said this. But the reason why Tucker Carlson has to say this over and over again is because he's building a fucking faulty premise here and making a faulty analogy. Okay? Tucker Carlson might have a medical condition, but I don't think it's white rage as a medical condition. He certainly is demonstrating some white fragility and white rage, though.
That our 2-year-olds were just teething. Now we know it's their whiteness that's making them so angry. Thanks, Mark Milley. We appreciate your contribution to our generation's scientific racism. By the way, have you read anything recently about winning wars? Apparently not. We could go on and on and on. Pundit after senator, after professor, after general.
I love that, like, by the way, he's not even wrong about that. So it's kind of funny that conservatives now unironically keep saying that, like, America's military keeps losing wars. It's fucking true. But also, like, it's kind of funny that, like, Matt Gaetz said this exact same thing, too. Like, he was like, maybe that's why. Maybe because they're reading critical race theory that our fucking military keeps losing wars, bro. It's like, I mean, they're not wrong, but I also find it really weird that these, like, esteemed patriots keep fucking saying, like, the military's full of L nerds. That's great. I mean, welcome. Welcome to the resistance, Tucker Carlson.
Each one of them spewing race hate, whiteness, white rage, dressed up as some new academic theory. We certainly have the tape. We'll spare you because you've seen it. It's everywhere. The question is, and this is the question that we should be meditating on day in and day out, is how do we get out of this vortex, this cycle, before it's too late? How do we save this country before we...
By the way, the American military loses wars on purpose. Okay? It's because it's significantly more profitable that way. They don't give a fuck how many people die in the process, as long as the military-industrial complex is, you know, getting their gears oiled and making more money. So in that sense, they are winning from a capitalist point of view. Ironically, Tucker would know more about this if he read Lenin. But I guess reading Lenin doesn't stop you from being an imperialist warmonger, as General Milley and his existence also points out. So, just remember that, theory nerds.
we become Rwanda? What should we be teaching our children so that before it's too late? How do we save this country before we become Rwanda?
Rwanda is Rwanda, not because of foreign policy of other nations, imperialism, anything like that, but because they read too much critical race theory.
What should we be teaching our children so they can live in the country that you want to live in? A country full of many different kinds of people, many different, but who actually like each other, who are happy to work together, who are united ultimately by the core fact, which is they're all Americans. That is the question.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey.
I love this, dude. What an incredible, insightful analysis from Tucker Carlson. It's great. There's a lot of stuff here I'm not going to, go through, but because we've already done so much. This guy's the biggest piece of shit, Tucker Carlson, that is. Oh, yeah. Nobody cool likes Tucker Carlson.
Your response when you see children wearing masks as they play should be no different from your response to seeing someone beat a kid in Walmart.
Call the police immediately.
What the fuck is this?
Nobody cool likes Tucker Carlson. Nobody cool likes Tucker Carlson. Nobody cool likes Tucker Carlson. If you like Tucker Carlson, then you're not cool. Cause nobody cool likes Tucker Carlson. Only a fool would like Tucker Carlson. Nobody cool likes Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is the worst. He's a maniac, sociopath, white supremacist, fear-generating mouth with an emphasis on lies and misinformation. But that infuriating look on his face, a court of law accepted an argument that no reasonable person would take him seriously. And while that's technically true, people do, and that's why I'm like, shut the hell up, Tucker Carlson, please go away. Tucker Carlson, nobody who's even a little bit cool would say they don't think you're a total tool. Nobody cool likes Tucker Carlson. Nobody cool likes Tucker Carlson. Nobody cool likes Tucker Carlson. Tucker, you're the worst.
I mean, it's true. It's a little bit, it's like Walmart Bo Burnham a little bit, but hey, this would convert kids in the pipeline. What? Sounds pretty good too. Good message. I'll allow it. Okay. Let's watch. What started the cultural fixation on gender?
The Joe Rogan Experience.
What is going on today where this is such a hot topic? Like, what has happened? I mean, what has been the shift in our culture? Can you find a patient zero? Was there an initial explosion that led to the domino effect? Like, what is it that's leading to such an utter fascination culture-wide about gender and sex now? It's like these are the big hot topics of today. It's gender, sex, race. And those things seem to, I guess, also sexual orientation. Gender, sex, race, sexual orientation. Those three, I mean, those four, it's just unprecedented in our time that these are the most widely talked about subjects across the board with young people and people that are virtue signaling and people that want to be, air quotes, woke. Like, what's causing this, Colin? Help us out.
I don't understand. Like, does Joe Rogan not believe that there are like biologists out there and academics out there that fucking believe in trans existence? Like, how come it's always people who like write for Quillette? How come it's always people who are like edge cases that extend beyond their base of knowledge as it pertains to gender that he has on his show? What's up with that? It's so weird. I just think it's so strange. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't know that there are experts that could clarify this question and give him a pretty accurate an accurate answer. Like, you have to be trying extra hard to find biologists that are not accepting of trans people and think that like gender and biology are especially for like human beings is just absolutely intertwined, and that there is only a binary. Good luck. Which Joe Rogan has had pretty much all of them, for the record. Like, every single fucking biologist that has a point of view like this will let it be known so that they then can write books and get a lot of hatred and go on their media tours and go on Joe Rogan so they can launch a separate career. And Joe Rogan will always have them on. I've never heard open-minded Joe Rogan have a single fucking person that simultaneously is a biologist who also understands that gender is a social construct. There are, like, nearly all of them are like this, by the way. So why? I'm not even saying have a social science academic talk about, like, gender studies. I'm simply stating, have a fucking biologist who will adequately explain to you that gender is a social construct.
It's something I've been tracking for quite some time.
Like a bounty hunter?
Yes, exactly. Well, I was always, so I started off in like the new atheist movement.
Well, because most people don't think that. Really? Most people don't think that gender is a social construct? Really? That's really strange. Because it is inherently anti-biology to assume that, like, there is a rigid binary as it pertains to gender, because every fucking biologist would tell you, unless they are a freak reactionary propagandist, that, gender is not a binary at all. Even Ben Shapiro no longer says gender is a binary. If you notice, he'll talk about how it's two poles. It's like, what is the term for it? I forget. Holy shit, you think 75 million people or whatever believe it's non-binary? What? Gender is literally not, even in the biological definition, if you are to consider sex and gender, if you are to think about gender as like biological gender, it's not fucking, it's not a binary. There are intersex people. There are more intersex people on this planet than there are gingers. So, like, there is no argument where it's just man, woman. That does not exist. That's not a real argument. Even Ben Shapiro now admits it's bimodal rather than just a binary. He had to change his argument because it's just not true. And too many people dunked on him.
And I was arguing against creationists and stuff and defending biological realities. And then that movement kind of dissipated, or at least is not nearly as prevalent, and they don't hold
What
as
happened
much
with
power.
the new? There was, I think it's
they just lost the
atheism
argument.
plus.
Yeah, I mean, there's actually an interesting segue between atheism plus and the modern social justice movement as we see it now. I mean,
for sure.
Atheism was the first movement to be infiltrated by all the language we're hearing now of, appropriation and the whole, check your privilege and
Well, I remember
all that
that
stuff. Yeah,
I remember watching Atheism Plus conferences online going,
yeah,
this is like the craziest virtue signaling event that I've ever seen in my life. Because it's people that don't just want to talk about the concept of agnostic thinking or atheism. They want to also attribute a bunch of social values to this movement that makes it kind of like a religion.
Have you heard of...
I personally think that, like, the anti-theists that are incredibly fucking cringe treat atheism as a religion significantly more and, like, proselytize and behave as, like, missionaries for atheism a lot more than, like, chill atheists who are just, like, that don't believe that God is real. It's a... So I don't know why he thinks that it's the opposite. And it's like, the problem with atheism is that it went too woke. Not that like so many of them became like weirdo fucking white nationalists.
Of Elevator Gate?
Yes.
With Richard Dawkins involved in that whole...
Yes.
Yeah, that was sort of the thing that sparked off in a big way the rise of a lot of social justice stuff and the fall.
Could you explain it to people that don't know what it was about?
Yeah, it was a while ago. Let me see if I can outline it a bit here. So there had been some...
I like chill anti-racists who those who don't actually do anything about it just think it's bad. Yeah, because racism is the same as religion. I know. You are literally one of the anti-theists I'm talking about that is like unironically cringe as fuck, okay? You think your mission is literally the maybe not like God ordained, but you think your mission is for an overall good. And that overall good, yelling at fucking Christian people no matter what. Like, yeah, dude. Just like anti-racism is when you fucking, like these people, if you were to ask these people, like, do you think you're tackling racism as a systemic issue when you turn around and like yell at someone for a microaggression? They would say no, except the fucking cringe ass r/atheist, anti-theist Andes will literally fucking do that all the time and think they're engaging in a worthy cause. Okay? You're literally doing that. You're doing the thing that you fucking get mad at.
Complaints at a lot of atheist conferences where there'd been people complaining of sexual harassment, and there was one specific example. There was a speaker, her name was Rebecca Watson. She went by Skepchick, and she was giving a talk at this conference specifically addressing sexism in the atheist movement. And I think she might have said that she wasn't interested in.
The crazy militant atheists are a straw man created by pretentious progressives to put themselves above other teams of people that also piss off the right. Atheists are shit on because of low-hanging fruit. Yeah, has nothing to do with the likes of literally fucking Sam Harris, which we just talked about in the previous fucking thing that I was covering, for having someone as reactionary and as horrifying as fucking Charles Murray on and then defending it. Yeah, no, totally. No racism there, dude. Not at all. Not at all, dude.
Hooking up at conferences or whatever. And then on the way back to her hotel later that night, she went into the elevator, and then someone went in the elevator with her. It was a guy. And as they were going up in the elevator...
What the fuck does Sam Harris being racist have to do with militant atheism? Everything. Sam Harris and so many other like famous atheists, unironically under the Obama administration, went from being like people who criticize religion to people who like hyper focused on how Islamophobia wasn't a real thing and should not exist, and it's actually normal to be terrified of fucking brown people and assume that they're Muslim, and that all Muslims are fundamentalist, and that Muslim fundamentalism is destroying Western civilization. Do you not understand this? How have you been in this community for so long and you still cannot comprehend how much r/atheism type atheism unironically turned into the weirdo fucking Sargon of Akkad alt-right pipeline that we see today? There's like 3 fucking creators from that very same circuit that have turned around and have reformed their perspectives. Nereye? Geri gelmeyecek misin? Kaçta geleceksin geri? Oh, okay. Okay. The intellectual dark web is like a great example. Is littered with people like this. Okay? There are plenty of fucking nice atheists, by the way. And there are nice agnostics as well. What I'm talking about is a specific subset. I'm not saying all fucking atheists are this way, but y'all are getting fucking real defensive, dude. Some of you are getting real fucking defensive. Why? It's the same concept as white fragility.
elevator, he looked over at her and just asked her if she'd like to come back to his room for a cup of coffee. That's literally what he said. That's a euphemism for you want to come back and
Netflix and chill.
Netflix and chill, yeah. And so she said no. He didn't pursue anymore. They went off to their separate rooms. Everything was fine. The next day on social media, she blows up the internet trying to say that how terrible this was, how she felt so uncomfortable in the elevator. It was in a tight spot, small elevator, and this how threatened that she was. And it became a really big sort of fissure in the atheist movement because some people were saying like nothing really happened. They just used a euphemism for, they asked you politely if you wanted to come back and do more. You said no, like that's the end of the story.
The same way you get defensive when they talk about religious people. Yes. Because I don't think fucking religious people are automatically bad by default. I don't think all atheist people are automatically bad by default. Am I a religious person, you fucking moron? Do I strike you as a religious person in any fucking capacity? How many times do I have to talk about how I'm culturally Muslim? Okay? In a similar way to like American Protestants or Reformed Jews that like don't believe in fucking any aspect of religion or organized religion at all. That are otherwise agnostic. You think all anti-theists are bad by default, though? No, I don't. I think that anti-theism, in the way that it fucking works, literally operates on the on the basis of like shitting on random religious people and people that believe in like spirituality and shit. I've talked about this a million times over. Okay? Religion being used as a weapon, as a justification to harm others is completely fucking unacceptable. But ultimately, spiritual guidance is something that people look towards. Not everyone is as hyper-logical and hyper-rational as you are. And there are plenty of people who are still hyper-logical and hyper-rational that believe in fucking capitalism as an ethical system. Okay? So everybody believes in dumb shit all the fucking time. To vilify an entirety, like to vilify people or to infantilize them, to treat them like children because they believe in shit that you don't believe in is so strange to me. And it's also unproductive and unhelpful in building a fucking coalition. Okay? You get it? Religion is just like any other fucking ideology. The only difference is that it's pervasive and it's powerful. It can be used for good. It can be used for bad. In a lot of circumstances throughout history, it has been used for bad. Okay? I acknowledge that. I admit that. It would be stupid and ahistoric to not admit that. But to claim that religion is like the single reason why all of the conflicts throughout civilization exist is so idiotic. You are a fucking baby, dude. You are literally baby-brained. It's like the same as thinking Trump is a religious person. When it comes to criticizing America and white people's behavior or conservatism, because of how personal it is for a lot of you, you can parse through that. You can segment it appropriately. But when it comes to people overseas, far away, that you have an inherently Orientalist perspective on, such as Muslims, it is so easy to get into this monolithic way of thinking that they are all fundamentalist, inherently reactionary, that there aren't progressive Muslims living in Muslim countries or progressive atheists, but they're still living in fucking Muslim countries that are actively and deliberately trying to fight against their own governments to make it more tolerant and more progressive. Well, the other counter forces to that, the counterbalance to that, is reactionary people utilizing religion as a weapon to galvanize their base in a similar capacity to how you see Donald Trump here in America. People always talk about how much they love Martin Luther King, but forget that he was irreverent. Religion has been also in the forefront. Religion has been utilized to justify white supremacy and slavery and continue that awful trade. But religion has also been in the forefront of the abolitionist movement. It is just an ideology, a weapon to be wielded, and a lot of people are bad and use it for bad purposes. Okay? Please stop. It's a baby-like way of thinking.
Story. And then there was this atheist named P.Z. Myers, who's since sort of lost his mind. And on his blog, he was talking about this event. And then Richard Dawkins, in the comment section, wrote what's known as the Dear Muslima letter, which is he was writing a sarcastic response to this as though he was addressing some random Muslim woman, saying like, you know, Dear Muslima, you have no right to complain about how you're treated, you know, having your genitals mutilated or whatever, because haven't you heard this one woman, her name is Skepchick, you know, she was offered coffee at an elevator and she said no, and the guy didn't do anything after that. So it was a very sarcastic way he approached that. And then that just made the whole atheist movement just get engulfed in flames immediately. It was all the factions split up between the super woke people and the classic skeptics. And yeah, it never recovered really. And right after that is when Atheism Plus came out, which was Atheism Plus Social Justice, which really just was woke Democrats who happened to be atheists, basically, and all the new conference topics.
No, you're just riding the current meta wave of shitting on all atheists under the guise of some stupid atheist strawman that you bring up at every possible opportunity. Yeah, tell me how you only started watching me for the past 26 months that you've subscribed to me on Twitch without telling me exactly that. Dude, you know how many times those fucking cringe lord atheist weirdos have shit on me over and over again for the entire duration of my like political commentary career? This is like, people say I love terrorism for this point of view that I've held on to for a very long time. Where is this fucking movement, dude? Focus Champus is consistently one of the dumbest people in this community. He always is consistently stupid. Whenever white fragility gets mentioned, he gets triggered. So I'm doing a double feature for him right now. We started off with white fragility. He got triggered already. And then now I'm talking about atheism. So he's like doubly triggered. He has to fucking say stupid shit.
Were just like intersectionality and maybe some vague reference to, you know, disbelief or something. So the atheist movement never recovered from that. It's gone downhill. And now we've seen how the same type of activism has moved in and taken over, you know, Evergreen State College, and has led to what Brett and Heather have gone through.
Dude, this is so funny. I'm sorry, but Evergreen State College, really? You're still talking about this, dude? Like, dude, this shit, like, bro, these people are so desperate to, like, go back to the glory days of, like, when all of the IDW was popping off. Didn't Brett Weinstein unironically tweet, like, yesterday that, you know, he could get suicided next? Like, McAfee? Some crazy shit like that. They're so desperate. They are clawing for relevance, dude. They are literally clawing for fucking relevance. So incredibly desperately.
Through, and then it sort of erupted all over the country, and what we're seeing now. So that was sort of the canary in the coal mine for a lot of what we're seeing now. And
what do you think is causing it?
Follow other people following Follow all the following people to bury the hatches to put aside the pettiness. Make life harder for bad actors. Follow all these people and stop bitching about small stuff. The nucleus is going to come under attack. There are a lot of courageous people out there. Help them spread the risk. Core is not so vulnerable. Wait, no, not this. I'm not talking about this. Many more to come. Thumbs too tired. These guys are so pathetic, bro. What is this? This person, official McAfee, who reached out to me, obsessed about not being suicidal like Jeffrey Epstein, is categorically the same as the person described hours before his death by his wife here. Dude. Oh, God. We're going to talk about McAfee in a little bit. I don't know, Nassim, because you stood for me over a decade, no matter how disappointed you are. Maybe no, is it? Correlation implies causation. We are grown men and women wasting our lives arguing over whether we hate each other. Stop. Find Lago. Dude, this guy is having like a breakdown. Many are having this reaction to Dave or to Sam or Mike or Joe. You're angry that I haven't said Anakachian or K. Melly when I said clearly more to come. Enough. No one goes under the bus. Get pissed at me. Fine. I have a 24/7 hater ecosystem, but no one else on the list. I love Rubin Report, despite the growing apart politically. So just unfollow me if you'd like. Dude, this guy's oppression is literally fucking Twitter follows and unfollows, dude. I mean, what the fuck is Emo Andy doing over here? Go ahead. Unfollow me. Anyway. Read Nassim Talib's response. It was hilarious. What did he say? Why the fuck are you putting me in the same category as Ben Shapiro, who is a total charlatan? Oh. I'm scared, and I need friends who can fight. I don't know, Nassim, because you've stood by me for over a decade, no matter how disappointed you may have been in me at times, and I've told everyone how much I admire you. I thought maybe I'd point to you in your wisdom to lead. And I'm scared, and I need friends who can fight. Maybe I'm trying to lead until someone with more courage and executive functioning and charisma becomes available. Maybe the private Ben is not the public one, and he has courage and decency. Wait, wouldn't that imply that he is a fucking little shitter? At best, a dangerous propagandist. At worst, a coward who can't reveal his true feelings? If it's different. What is he leading, bro? What is Eric Weinstein leading still? God, dude, Joe Rogan, the Joe Rogan ecosystem is so fragile. Like, the moment that they can't go back on Joe Rogan is the moment that, like, their entire economy falls apart. So they have to claw on to relevancy in whatever way they can. Maybe I worry McAfee just got whacked and was obsessed with making his killing matter. What? And was obsessed with making his killing matter? Maybe he just let us know that it is easier to say correlation doesn't imply causation. Okay. I don't want to give it away. I wanted to make it seem like there was mystery behind like John McAfee dying. But I have to point this out, like, John McAfee wishes he was murdered by the government, okay? Sorry. Like, love the guy, okay? I followed him, and I have celebrated his psychotic behavior for many years. You know this. Some people thought it was a good own to, like, point to my tweet about him whale fucking. He's batshit crazy, okay? And I love it. I think it's very entertaining. I think we should let people be batshit fucking crazy. But this notion that he was whacked, like similar to Jeffrey Epstein, he wishes that was the case, okay? You're wild. I would have an easier time believing that he killed himself while simultaneously making it seem like, he was going to get murdered by the government, just as like one last big troll, okay? $100%. No fucking shot And I said just as much like a couple days ago when the situation first came to light, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? The situation surrounding John McAfee's death is shrouded in mystery." Like, what? You think he fucking killed himself because he was doing tax evasion? He was about to be extradited to the United States of America, dude. Like, oh wow, dude, for fucking tax evasion. That's why that was the big fucking mystery. Come on, boys. Wild to think that like you deeply do not understand John McAfee if you think he was like if you think that he was murdered. Okay? You don't. Have you seen the Jenna Friedman interview with McAfee? It's hilarious. No. I would have an easier time believing that he faked his own death so that he could like evade the authorities rather than get fucking murdered. Okay, we'll watch that interview. Like what was the big secret that like they wanted to silence him on, dude? What was the big like government secret that he had access to? Was it some crypto shit? Probably, right? Is the cryptocurrency stuff? Is that what it was? My man is literally known for making an antivirus that's like impossible to delete from your computer. Okay, that's it. He got a bag, and then he lived his best libertarian life. I love him for that reason. He is like an honest libertarian, okay? He loved getting shit on, literally. I don't mean literally in like the Zoomer sense. I mean like quite literally. He loved getting poop in his mouth. And if he were still around today, he'd say he loves the top of the hour, every hour, 60-second ad breaks. Yeah. He loved unavoidable ads. But you might not be able to delete Norton antivirus, but you can avoid the ad breaks at the top of the hour. Now, how can you do that, Hassan? Well, you can do that by subscribing for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime. Is it Norton antivirus? McAfee antivirus. Sorry. Fuck, I said Norton. Oh, damn, the disrespect. Yeah, you can by using a VPN or by using an ad blocker or by just subscribing for free with a Twitch Prime. You can avoid the ad breaks way better than you can avoid the McAfee antivirus software. Here's the ad now.
He's one of the most notorious cybersecurity entrepreneurs in the world, who made millions off of his antivirus software. In 2012, amid allegations of murder, he fled his then home of Belize to Guatemala, where he faked a heart attack to avoid deportation. He eventually made his way back into the U.S. and rose to prominence once again as a 2016 Libertarian presidential candidate. To this day, he remains a controversial figure, and he's here with me now. John Mccaffe?
McAfee, but that doesn't matter.
For people watching at home in their mother's basements, they don't necessarily see that you have, can I reveal that you have security guards?
Of course, absolutely.
So you have
Everybody knows
one, two, three gentlemen.
Actually, 4 if Jimmy's here.
Do you fear death,
No, not at all.
despite the military presence around you?
That doesn't mean I fear it. That simply means I choose not to voluntarily wander into it.
Let's talk about McAfee 2.0.
What's that?
You now.
I would call it 400.0 or something. I mean, I have reinvented myself, but you call it 2, that's fine. That would be the newsman's perspective.
News person.
Newsperson. What does that mean?
Women